Yeah, hi, I'm Dr. Muhammad Suhail Memon. I'm going to give you a little bit of overview over polishing of class 2 MOD palatal occlusal composite restoration. Here it's a MODOP cavity preparation, which you can see in different pictures from different views. Um, in next few slides, it's not very um, clear how the restoration was done, but there are a few steps which you can see and then understand. Whatever way you like, I mean, you can do the restoration, but you might be more benefited from the
Set of material
polishing. I mostly worked with
and
the enhanced polishing disc. However, you have a choices of using the soft flex or whatever you like.
trying to
Thank you.
build the shape, right? So
Please ignore. There are some
move at
discrepancies
full size
in the recording. You
for
may
the buckle
ignore it.
cusp at this stage, and you are taking for the proximal height or the margin. Now I'm trying to contour at the mesiobuccal margin, and then I'm trying to slightly roll it because it's really curving in. So just do a little bit of shape over there.
To develop the
The fissure,
fissures and
and
the
then
marginal ridge plus the triangular force,
turn your
you need to
instrument.
angle a bit of your instrument, plastic instrument. Remember, if you are working on,
Getting hard because I'm using light.
if you're
That took
working on,
the
let's say,
quadrant two.
Just to
opposing
get
to
it out of the
you,
way. Please
you are
let me
better
know when I'm
viewing your the inclines of the buccal cusp which are facing you while you're sitting 9 o'clock, and if you're sitting 7 or 8 o'clock, you might be able to work on to the cuspal or the occlusal anatomy more clearly. So as you can see here, so you need to do a little bit of tilt of your instrument. Now bear in mind that you need to move jaw more towards you so you can expose the occlusal surfaces better.
okay. So I'm just keeping light slightly away, and then I'm touching instrument with the bond. So when I lute my instrument with the bond, that helps me to move instrument quite nicely because it's not sticky and it makes composite a bit of flowy. So you are pretty much packable in a flowable form, right? So now what we were discussing is that if you're working on this slow, what will be the movement of your instrument? So I'm trying to shape up cusp, and this one like this. So as I was telling that it is slightly contouring, right? So outer slightly tapering, almost about 40-45 degree angulation, and then as I'm coming towards the center, I'm maintaining that towards the center. So it's like,
Remember, when you are working with the composite, don't use a lot of force. Just with the tip of your finger, just touch and tap onto the composite to build the anatomy. As you can see with the plastic instrument, it's moving with more or less about 30 to 45 degree angulation
so
over
just more
the outer
contour
margins
going
of
through
the palatal cusp, or even
to
if
this
you're
one.
working on the buccal
This is the
cusp.
palatal. Right, so I'm just slightly shaping up, and then
If you're trying to work
just
onto the
developing
slopes, the occlusal slopes of either buccal
a
or
little bit
palatal
more.
cusp, you can use
Right around the margin,
the
so get
pluggers.
a round, nice round
You can use the condensers because they have a flat
going
base.
there.
So you can easily have a better
high.
slopes
I'm trying
prepared
to.
with the condenser or the plugger instead of this plastic instrument.
Now remember, we were talking that we have a little bit of deficiency, so I'm trying to put that excess composite into the deficient area. All right, so and then I'll just slightly pull it so I get a little bit more shape. Right, and then you can do a little bit of contouring there at the outer edge, and then I can see a little bit when I squeeze it, so it has flown in, and then it has created a little bit of mess over there. So I'm just trying to work out with it. So we can use the composite carver on those areas where we have a little bit of excess flown in, but we don't have much room. So just doing a little bit of shaping there. Little bit of shaping there. Improving anatomy. And लेके जाऊंगा तो now I have removed matrix. I'm checking, this is slightly over, slightly over, slightly over. I don't see any kind of major void. Look at the anatomy. Now look at this fissures, right? Fissure pan. Now look at this. We can see fissures over. Can you zoom it, please? Now we have to go back to polishing a little bit. We are placing this matrix band, this transparent matrix for the protection purpose. Now it's not for the building proximal wall, for the protection purpose, because we are going to use disc and enhanced disc and the other polishing disc. All right, so if you don't get comfortable room, then just use wedge to create a little bit of space, and then slide your transparent matrix in. Looks like it's quite tight contact. Good in one manner, not very good when you're placing these kinds of stuff over there. Okay. Now when you are working, definitely it's a hindrance. You can cut it short, roll it away. Okay. Now you have to copy this one. So can you see the contour? right? So it's coming straight from gingival to pretty much 2/3, and then on the occlusal 1/3 it's sloping in, so there is a functional bevel over there. But when we look at this preparation we have done, it's pretty much straight all the way. So what I'll do, just for the convenience sake, I'll prepare a slope over there. Okay, functional bevel.
Make sure you don't run this too fast, and keep angles
So that's the shape.
quite controlled. Remember, I mean, you are going to harm the gingiva, and
Be
you might
careful you
harm the
don't
next
touch
root tooth if you are
this
not
disc
controlling the
on the
angle
tooth,
of
because it
the
is really abrasive,
disc and also
and
the
then you
speed.
might run risk of making some scratches. So I'm working on to removing the excess which we have checked earlier, but be careful, I'm using the edge of the disc. All right, so be very careful. You can sit that way and then work like that. Okay,
So, but enhanced disc will be more aggressive than this.
I assume
Then
they both are meant for the same purpose, but I think the enhanced disc is a bit more aggressive than what we are using. So just check with
so
the
we
Explorer.
can't use Soflex.
You can use Soflex, but I think this is a
More
better way of
yeah,
working.
okay.
So yeah, it's not much. All right, still you have to continue trimming. But be careful, you are not going to touch onto the gingiva and the tooth. Okay, and then tilt a little bit. We are quite close to finishing onto the margin. Look, see, that's what I was suggesting you, that if you have a wax placed in that area, it's easy to flick it away. It doesn't stick. So any excess composite will easily go away. All right, so just continue. Okay, so we have, I assume that we have pretty much done. Now slightly more of the contour, and remember it's more onto the distal. If you see this contour, so we are trying to build that one. Slightly tilt your disc towards the occlusal and then continue that all the way. on the other side. Other side means towards medial. So from distal to medial. So you have more contour on the medial and you have functional bevel over there, which you are trying to achieve. All right. Now you have some excess.
When you want to do the polishing and the shaping of
Just run
occlusal, you
it
can
nicely.
use the point and you can use
Get
the
rid of
disc, but
your
I use the disc
excess
only
over
onto
there.
the slopes,
And if you have
but
any,
into the fissures and into the triangular fossa, I mean, I prefer to use the points,
work it out
enhanced
and make
points.
this height level to the adjacent. So still I believe it's slightly high. So I'll just run this disc in and out, and I'll continue on the other side. Remember, this matrix is not very strong. Alright, so don't just keep going. So if you feel that it's been trimmed, check it. If it is cut, change it. Right? So okay, we still have sharpness over there. All right, so we'll work on that one. Now we can switch to the coarse disc. Okay, we can go on to brownie. Okay, once again you have to go back to isolating the next level. See, that's what I've been talking. Look at this. See, it's cut away. So be careful when you're working with this disc. Okay, isolate. If you want slightly, just continue with that one and then go on to the other one. So just a little bit. I believe still we have to do a bit of more. Okay, so I'm just making it round. Here I think a little bit high. Remember, we want this to be isolated and this anatomy should be maintained. So the slope of the cusp has to be maintained. All the line angles should be round. This area, as we have said, that it's really contoured, so you have to make sure when you're working there you have covered it nicely and it's not touching tooth. Okay, next door tooth. If you're using edge, it cuts. Alright, so it's really doing its job. Okay, let's go on to the buckle. If you have any excess over there, just take that one off. Right. Now, a tiny gap over there, isn't it? That gap we want to fill. So what I'm doing, I'm just dropping a little bit of flowable there. in that area and then rolling it. Okay, and trying to shape it nicely. But if you feel like that you can really improve, or if you had some major deficiency or issue, you can always think of doing these things. I've done it just to show you, otherwise I probably would have ignored it easily. And before doing these things, I will put Vaseline on the other half of the tooth and the filling.
When you are repairing.
When I'm repairing. Alright. Because what happens if it has gone too much on the other surface, then probably you are in problem. See, so looks like pretty much done. But still I need to do a little bit of.
Always explore with the explorer, so you don't see any kind of excess material onto the tooth surface, and if you have still some discrepancy left or gaps, you can fill with the flowable.
Need what do you call
It's quite easy when you're working on jaw when it's in the hand, but when it's in the mannequin, I mean, it's a little bit difficult. So you have to learn to move around the mannequin, and you also need to slightly tilt or adjust the head of the mannequin so you don't struggle with the positioning of your instrument and carving or kind of preparing the anatomy. That is very important. So you need to learn to move around and also to angle your wrist, your finger. In fact, I mean, it's a demo. That's why I'm holding in hand, and probably it's not a great video since it was done quite a long time back, and it was an experimental video. So you don't see the quality so good. If you require repair or adjustment with the flow bill, you can always go back with your enhanced disc or your other disc which you'd like to work with, whether it's a 5 millimeter or 9 millimeter disc. I mean, but you don't use the coarse disc at this stage. Medium to fine disc will be better.
So I have covered the adjacent tooth to prevent any nick or trauma, and then I'm trying to shape it. Remember, as I've said, it can easily nick the adjacent one, so just keep changing.
Protection of next door tooth is very important. That's why I'm recommending you can use the metal band or cellulite strip.
Metal band as well, and use a small disc if you can. Yes, it doesn't matter. You're not working into, you are working for the shaping and also aiming to protect the adjacent tooth and the gum. If you're using the bigger one for the sake of your convenience because of this and that, then you need to plan securing the gingiva. So we still have a little bit sticking there. See? So any excess should be removed from the tooth. All right, so any excess material flown onto the tooth surface should go away.
So once you're satisfied that the polish is done, to get the shine onto the tooth, instead of using bond or something, I'm recommending to use gauze. Put a cotton roll into the gauze and keep rubbing onto the tooth surface. That brings the shine and the smoothness onto the exposed surfaces of the polished tooth. You will appreciate that without any bond you will see the glaze onto the tooth. So try it. I mean, I'm recommending to use that one like using a polishing brush onto the shoe. So it is in the similar fashion. So put a roll into the gauze and rub against the tooth
Be careful
surface,
with the tooth.
and that
This
will
one
bring a shine onto
is
it.
really scratching.
You can see in the pictures at the end of
Was
this video.
slightly looking like it was over, but it was not. So it's the tooth actually which was, because this is the carie simulated tooth, so it was like a disguise. So I just got a little bit confused with that one. So just do a little bit like a shoe polish. With the gauze. And run it over.
Look at this occlusal anatomy of the finished tooth and look at the palatal cusp. You can clearly see the fissures, grooves, and the slopes of the cusp, and also the shine. And also the shine of the tooth. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you like it. It might be useful.